guys, new prediction for next week. But before, quick recap of last week. Basically, I think it was 100% correct. We saw the moving for the downside. Let me make it bigger. We saw the move for the downside, but it basically opened immediately at the low and then push for the upside for retest again from the 610 and push down. And basically it was the prediction of the movement. So I thought it maybe take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it didn't. It just immediately pushed for the downside, but it's okay. It made it purpose. So what's gonna be next week? Gonna be interesting because you see this candle, you see the wick from the upside, which means strong select from the 610 resistance, and closed below the candle. So basically, sellers came here and push again there. If they manage to close below the 600, you can assume that it's gonna push down maybe to close this gap, this area of the gap. Let's say 583, 582. So the 600 is a round number, let's say line in the sand, which if the market managed to push below that, it will push for this area. And this is from the daily. So far it seems the market is weak. It could bounce from the 598.30 maybe, so it can spike below the 600 and then push back again. But so far I don't see it doing so. I see it very weak at the moment. So I can see it push below the 598, can come to the 594.50, and from there maybe try to look for buyers, but again it's from a weakness standoff point. I can see it pushing to the 584, 585 area and closing the gap here, and from there looking for let's say buyers to come and push back again to the upside. So this is the daily. Let's look at how it closed from the weekly. You see it on the weekly, the rejection. So yes, it got rejected and managed to close here. So it closed on the weekly above the opening. So the buyers was a little bit strong there. They hold it, which is nice. You can see the big volume coming in, so we started to see volume pushing back in. So the big volume came from the sellers, and any continuation from the downside can mean that it's again gonna cross again for the downside, making another push, looking back at the buyers. Let's move back for the daily. If we look at it on the forwards, let's see what happened. We have double top. All right, it managed to make a break there, immediately pushed for the downside, got rejected, buyers came in, and now they push back again for the downside. So I can see it here pushing for the 592 here. All right, and maybe look from there, but it doesn't look that good. Even can spike down here and close above. This is one possibility. You can see the momentum starting to face down, facing down, facing down. Last week we were here, 1, 2, and this is up. Now 3 momentum are facing down, so it doesn't look that good. See what happened there when the momentum was here for the downside. The buyers managed to hold, but then immediately broke here. So it can do this again. So we need to check how the buyers are holding the 592. You can see after hours, you don't see it on the daily, the market push below the 600, all right? You can see it on the daily. Let's close it. It still holds, so it push below the 598. This is 599, sorry. So here we are starting from this position, all right? So if you don't see it at Monday, tomorrow, that buyers immediately in the pre-market push above the 600, it's not going to be a good sign. It means continuation to closing the gap of the 584. So far I see the push for the 590 area and even pushing back for the 584, closing the gap. And I'm assuming the markets want to reach to the 574, guys. This is my assumption. This is my thesis. Bearish for the downside so far. Let's look at it. There is no divergence yet, and if it managed to touch the blue line, it can break the divergence, which means continuation for the downside. But I don't think it will fall immediately down. It will do something like this, retest, and then something like this. All right, which means it could break here. And because this one is very low, I think it's 575, it could reach below it and then create divergence for the upside. And then the weakness will come and push down. This is going to be interesting because if it crosses below, it's going to push down. All right, so let's look at it on the 1 hour chart, how it looks. See how it looks. This is a very bearish position. It broke a lot, broke divergence, so it means continuation for the downside. Retest again here, maybe closing this gap again. So this is for the short term. Now let's move for the Qs. With the Qs, we saw the break, we anticipated the pushing back for the trend and then pushing back in, and then it closed below. Again, weakness with a big volume. Qs is much weaker than the S&P. You see, it didn't manage to make a high low. So what it gave us so far, this is a break of trend, retest. Now, if we cannot see a break for above, it means continuation here, and then attempt to break in, test, retest, and then moving for the downside. Let's look at it on the weekly, how it looks. You can see it tried to break, failed again, and managed to close above. So the bars doing a lot of attempt to manage to close above the trend. All right. There is no divergence, so at least it's still sideways. Look at it on the monthly, how it looks. This is not that good candle, but buyers were strong. It managed to strong the monthly above this shooting star, because if the seller were strong and they had the opportunity to push it down below this candle, then it means big move for the downside, maybe like this. So still the buyers are still stronger. You can see the volume, the buyers are still strong, but it's I don't know if it can call it too long oversold, so it needs a correction. But on the monthly, any move for the downside, even for the 427, 450, bring a lot of buyers back into the market. On the 4-hour chart, you can see again how it closed. So it seems that again with the SPY, it's very weak. It wants to push to retest the 516, 17, maybe if it's let's say if it managed to break below the 513, and I think it will try to retest again the blue line, even though it already retested once. It wants to push for, let's say, the 490, 485 area. And this will be a little bit bearish. And again, we see momentum down, down, and this started to straighten, which is nice, Maybe another attempt for the upside. Could be strong. So far, no divergence. It's coming from the upside. I could see it push down for the blue line, creating divergence for the upside. So at the opening, pushing down, and the middle of the week to see how it reacts for the upside. Again, a lot of volume for the push for the downside. Wants to close the gap here at the 505 maybe. Let me check something. Yeah, 514, 515, first push, second push, 507. This is it, guys. IWM. IWM. Again, sideways. I thought it will try to push higher, make a break, and a false break. It just didn't. Seller scam, seller scam, seller scam, seller scam. Alright, so a lot of sellers. Not that good. Not that good. Let's check it on the weekly. Yeah, this is wants to push for the downside. This is yeah, iron reversal, managed to close below, so wants to continue down. On the 4-hour chart, can maybe bounce again from the 224, again from this area. Let's see if it managed to do so, because there is a little bit strength in this area. In this box, there is a little bit strength, so you can spike down and then push for the upside. So be very careful, and this move can push the market also. Because I think 240, I don't know if I can see the 240 back again. Maybe it's too soon. You see the blue line still positive, but again, momentum, bearish, a little bit sideways. All right. Could be interesting. Could be interesting to see that. Here again, more strong than the Qs and SPY. They broke it, and the Russell didn't. So you can see the divergence for the upside. It didn't broke it. So if it managed to break below the 224.50 here, then it's mean a push for the downside for the 220 to 19 to close the gap. So this could be interesting. Follow the Russell. I will follow the Russell, guys. It seems a little bit stronger. Okay. Let's move for Tesla. All right, just a sec. All right. So Tesla, this is the weekly. Let's push for the monthly. So this is the monthly. It's inside in the trend. Sellers, and you can see they managed to close above the 400. All right. But it failed to close below the 415 on the monthly. On the weekly, see how it looks. They push up, immediately push back in, started from here and managed to close above the 400. So there is a big fight. Regarding the trend, you can see lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, but from the lows there is lower lows, higher lows, lower lows, higher lows, lower lows. So the bars are trying to hold it. Let's assume below the 380. This is the line in the sand for Tesla. If we look back again on the daily, 380 here. Doesn't look that good. Seems it wants to change the trend, but still from a positive perspective. All right. If we look at it more, let's take it here. I don't think there is divergence. 558. No, still no divergence. On the 4-hour chart, you see the fight between the 386 and the 415 area here. Seems that it wants to push. Momentum is below, not that good. Even there is a little bit change. Momentum is up, up, and then down. Usually when it crosses, it tries to make another push, but see what happened there. It crossed below the zero, and the bars were strong. It moved sideways even if the momentum was negative. So now let's see if the buyers are still strong and manage to hold the price sideways. So far, but Tesla is from a negative perspective. So we have to examine how the buyers are holding the 386, the 414 area. Looking at it from this one, it seems weak, which means it seems weak, which means that it wants to push for the 380 again, which is not that good. I don't know if in the smaller time frame it can bounce from the 400. So let's say again from a smaller time frame, the 400 is a line in the sand, then the 380. For Tesla, so far again a little bit weak. Let me check something. You can see the divergence. This is 80, this is above 83, so this is divergence. So lower highs and on the indicator higher highs. So a little bit divergence for short continuation. Not that good. If you look at it on the 1-hour chart, basically the push for the upside cleared. The price moved for the downside. Buyers want to push it back again and failed in the after hours. And again, if it will push down, it can create divergence for the upside. So this is the reason why I don't think there will be a fast fall. And I will watch how the buyers are holding the last 2 days in all market graphs, in the SPY and the Qs. If the buyers manage to hold the support, if not, it will be a fall for the downside. Look at it here. Okay, it seems that the buyers are strong, but I want to see how they react, because they will try to break here, fail, now try again and immediately failed. So maybe they were preserving power for the third time. Could be very interesting. But so far, bearish, 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 guys. I'm a little bit bearish. In large time frame, still the market is bullish. You can see this is a bullish. All right, it pushed down, which is good. And this is in between. It didn't manage to break the high. It didn't manage to break the low. So in a sideways, this is a box, which you have to be careful trading the box, inside the box. On a smaller time frame, you can do so. On a big time frame, be very careful. You can see the tail. You can see on the daily the hammer how this is a bearish candle, even though it finished green. For me, it's a bearish, which means the session ended red. So the momentum is for the seller stand of point. So this is Tesla. Let's go for Apple. All right, see Apple. This is a big rejection candle, guys. You cannot ignore it, and we saw it. We saw if there will be a push for the upside, it will create divergence, and it did. And it immediately a short continuation, and this is a big one. A lot of sellers entered there. And this is interesting because if the market is smart, it will try to push up immediately. Why? Because they will be afraid and closing their position. And then it can continue for the downside. Look at it on the weekly. See the move for the downside, reversal candle, immediately push for the upside and got rejected. And there is no divergence, so it means continuation. Let's see it here. This is 190. This is a 5 still. It needs a little bit more push for maybe the 211, maybe the 200 as a round number. This is for the weekly standoff point. If we check the 4-hour chart, again, it broke it here, but here this is the divergence we talked about. So far you can see the push for the upside, but momentum is gonna change. So I think it will push down the momentum again for a retest at the 225 to see if the bars are still strong, and took this area for holding position. So if the price move back in again, the bars will immediately start to push it above, not to make a lower low. So we need to see. If we look at it on here, you can see a lot of volume coming at the end of the session. This is a lot of volume of holding. So it's going to be interesting because this is a buy position, and the after hours it managed to push down. So a lot of stop losses, and immediately can push for the upside. It's going to be very interesting. Watch closely below the 233 area how the market reacts tomorrow, if it managed to close below it in the pre-market. It's going to be very interesting. But so far, from a perspective of trend, you can see the higher lows, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and this is the break, and maybe now I'm gonna have the retest and resuming the trend for the upside. Gonna be very interesting to see it. Nvidia, sorry, Nvidia. With Nvidia, on the weekly, we knew there is something gonna happen. We didn't know what, but we knew something's gonna happen, and this is what happened. So Wyckoff positioning, you can see very interesting movement and break, and now we need to see continuation or a false break for the downside. It touched the key area. You can see it on the 200 here, and it just bounced on it with a big volume. I know it's ended on the red with a big tail from the upside. It didn't create any big divergence, but this is a unique one. See, this is moving down, this is moving up. So we need another red candle in order to break it. If not, it can push for the upside on the 200, and the 200 on the daily is very strong, guys. All right, so pay attention for it. Gonna be very interesting. If we look at it on the 4-hour chart, this is a change of trend, of course, negative, negative, negative. Not much in back, just for continuation. Again, you can see it here, the divergence for the upside. All right, so I think if you're gonna see a green, we can see another push for a retest. Gonna be very interesting to see that. Meta. Very strong, but and red, but still high. No divergence so far, I think. Yes, let me 99.78. I don't see any. No divergence. Very strong on the daily. Look at it on the weekly. Very strong on the weekly. This is nice. Green candle all the weekly. See what happens when you see green like this, green like this. Very strong. Nice. I think it's gonna do a reversal soon, but I don't know if this week, but it will make it soon. If we look at it on the 4-hour chart, see how the bars are very strong. Momentum is very positive, so I think now it's entering a sideways or even a nice reversal mood like here when it crosses below there. But any push for the downside, even for the 650, 648, will bring the bars with divergence for the upside. Look at it on the 1-hour chart, see how it ended. There is divergence, so push above here. Can make another push. If not, we need to see how the sellers make a push below the 676 in order to push for the 650 again. Alright, BA, let's see if there is something there. Sideways, big volatility here, you can see it here. So far, divergence for the downside doesn't look that good. On the 4-hour chart, momentum is negative, still red. Momentum start to be positive, gonna be interesting. If we look at it here, divergence for the upside, so above this area, if you want to be safe, this area, push for the upside. Gold. Gold, see it on the daily how it's gap, big volume, immediately touch the 260, immediately push down, but still managed to close above. So gold is strong. I think gold will reach the 3000 this year. Very strong. Momentum is strong. Start to give us a little bit divergence for a reversal, maybe bigger reversal, but still positive. Look at it on the 1-hour chart. No divergence, but if it pushed down, will bring more buyers. If it managed to touch the 255, 56, can bring more buyers to the party. Silver, which I like more, with bigger opportunities. See it here, sideways, managed to make a break, but false break. So above the 28.90, can push for the upside and resume. Gonna be very interesting to see it. Again, managed to make the break, need a retest a little bit, pushing for the upside. Let me check something. No divergence, little bit one for a reversal for the downside. Here, any push for the downside already creating divergence. So above here, another retest. I don't know if it has the power to break the 29 yet. Oxy. All right. Oxy move for the downside as we predicted. Let's look at it on the 4-hour chart. I thought it will stop here and rest there, but it didn't, just fall. And this is not that good. You can see the change, but I think the buyers will step back in because we know the buyers came here and came in this area. So I think now they will try to hold this one, and we're gonna see this week a move for the upside. Let me check something. Minus, yeah, there is divergence for the upside. Just make a strong push for the down. You can see a lot of volume here, guys. Buyers came here. definitely. So we want to check and see how the price holding it and not continue down. If we see, so far we don't see the buyers. I want to see some form of with a candle structure to find a nice entry for the upside. Going to be very interesting. So guys, let's finish up. So far it seems that I'm a little bit bearish because of those candle on the daily and the push after hours. I don't know if the market's trying to make another false attempts of a downside and then push up. I don't see a lot of strong stocks for the upside which can push the market. IWM is going to be interesting if it the buyers manage to hold the price and push it up. Some sort of divergence for a reversal, maybe closing the gap. So this is the reason why in this week I'm a little bit bearish. Careful, I want to see the buyers, how they're holding. There is a lot of sideways, but the sideways are still in the favor of the buyers. All right, it's still blue, even in the Qs. It's still blue, so it needs to break them. All right, I think the IWM, the 4-hour chart, still blue. So it can push for the downfall retest, the buyers can come again and push it for the upside. But so far, for this week, I'm a little bearish. I will be very careful. I want to see how the market's opening on Monday. If it's pushing immediately for the downside and continue a little bit in the pre-market, you can see it here or even there. If you can push a little bit lower, you can see, I think the buyers will be afraid and immediately will close position and the market will fall to close the gap. All right. So this is it, guys. Hope it helps, and see you guys next week. Bye bye.